Welcome back, everybody. This is Darren Shulman again with another interview. Today, I'm excited to interview Mary Higbe from Goliath Games. We're going to talk to Mary about some cool things that they have coming out that normally we would have gotten to see at something like Gen Con or maybe Origins, but due to COVID, we've moved a lot of things virtual. So I get the opportunity to get some sneak peeks for you here today. Mary, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. Yeah, I've got some really great new games from Goliath that I'm going to share about today. We did preview them at Gen Con Online last Thursday through Sunday. Definitely a different experience than actually being in Indianapolis. Our team had to we had to kind of stretch and figure out, all right, we are used to playing these games with other people, and other people can't be part of the equation right now.
Yeah, one of the cool things about Gen Con is, and the conventions, is you can demo games in person and people can tactilely feel them and stuff. So you've probably had to adapt to a virtual environment in a weird way with games.
We definitely did. We relied heavily on Tabletop Simulator. We got great feedback on our games through that. And it was still, the community aspect of it, because a lot of attendees are very familiar with Tabletop Simulator, where we're just a couple months into using it. So even attendees were giving us tips on, if you use this key, then it'll help you, roll the die better. It's like, oh, cool, thanks.
Before we get to see the cool stuff you're bringing up, can you tell us a little bit about Goliath Games? I have to tell you that I did a little research, and I didn't realize that Goliath is responsible for Rummikub.
That's right.
I played the heck out of that game when I was a kid. My mom loves Rummikub.
Yeah, Rummikub is actually our origin story. Our company founder, Adi Gilad, was in Israel and came across Rummikub and was like, this is absolutely fantastic. Why don't we have this in Holland, his home country? And he did, the move that parents probably counsel their children against, but he did it, and he quit his job and sold his car and used all the money that he had to buy every copy of Rummikub that he could and bring him back to Holland. And then he started his sales calls, and nothing. And finally, in 1980, he made another sales call, and the guy agreed to see him. And Adi was kind of like, whoa, this has not happened before. So he went to the meeting and he pitched Rummikub. And the guy was like, this is fantastic. I'm so glad you're here. I want to place an order, but you need to know that the only reason I agreed to a meeting with you is that I misheard you on the phone, and I thought you were pitching Rubik's Cube.
Everything happens for a reason, I guess.
It does. One of those happy accidents. So here we are celebrating our 40th anniversary. We have offices in, I think it's 12 different countries. We have sales presence in about 75 different countries. And we specialize in everything from the preschool skill and action games like Pop the Pig and Doggy Doo, to Rummikub, Sequence, and Mastermind, to sports and outdoor, to our line of games adults play. And that's actually the name of the line, is Games Adults Play.
Oh, okay. I was like, what games do adults play? Oh, games adults play. Gotcha.
They're the ones that we don't let the kiddos in the room for.
Right.
So yeah, we've got a huge product catalog, wide variety of offerings. There is at least one game from Goliath for every single person on the planet.
And I think, spoiler alert, I think we've got a kind of a nice array of things you're going to show us here. So let's go through some of the new things that people would have gotten to see at Gen Con in person, but and maybe did get to see at Gen Con online, but now can see talking to us here today.
Yes. So our first one is Escape from Iron Gate. I think a lot of us are in a position right now where we want some sort of escapism.
Escape from my house, yeah.
Escape from my house, escape from my zip code, escape from, hanging out with my dog. I love my dog, but he's been my office mate since mid-March.
Yes.
I think he's tired of me. And it is an escape room scenario, but we're not going to escape rooms right now either. So in Escape from Iron Gate, you and your friends have been jailed for a crime you did not commit. And you have to escape from the prison because the judge doesn't believe you, the warden doesn't believe you. So you're getting out by doing different actions, taking different chances. Maybe you have to draw a picture of a broken leg. Maybe you have to climb out of a window. Variety of things. And the great thing about Iron Gate is it has unlimited replayability because there are so many different scenarios.
So is it like a, I don't want to say truth or dare, but are these cards things that you're actually doing? Like, when you say climb out a window, do you actually have to climb out that window to pass that challenge? Is that how it works?
So for example, there are things that you have to act out. Perhaps you have to act out being tall or a jungle. So those are your action cards. There are.
And if you want to show, you can put some up to the screen too if you want to show an example of something too.
Various puzzles that you have to sort out, or riddles that you have to answer, such as what can you catch but not throw?
Oh, I got something, but I don't know if it's the thing that's keeping us all inside. You can't throw it, but yeah.
Right. So it's various tasks like that. And what the cards that you draw are determined by what your dice roll is. So if you get a puzzle and an action together, you have to do both a puzzle and an action. And you have until your turn comes around the next time to complete those.
So is there I don't want to use the word dungeon master, but is there like a referee or something, or is it sort of totally team based? How does it work?
You can do it team-based. You can also do it individually. It's set for 3 to 8 players. The hard part, though, is only one of you and your friends group is going to escape from Iron Gate. Oh. The rest of the people are stuck. Yes. So once one person is out and that good old-fashioned prison break has happened, nope, no more for anybody else.
So who is Escape from Iron Gate targeted towards? Hardcore gamers, social parties, people who like casual stuff? What would you say the target audience is?
This one is really great because it doesn't have that super targeted audience. There are times when you can get involved in a game and you're like, this is way too easy, or as often happens to me, there are so many rules, I can't keep up with it. I want something simple. This is a great one because, there is definitely strategy. There's a good story behind it where you and your friends have been wrongfully imprisoned. So it's really good for almost any group of people. The marketing team at Goliath, we're relatively diverse in terms of backgrounds and ages, and this is one that we can all get behind.
And so is it it sounds interesting that it's competitive / cooperative, like you're all trying to get out, but at the end of the day, it's going to turn because only one's getting out. Is that? Exactly. So it is kind of every person for him or herself. But you still want to have those good alliances with other players. Something that was pointed out to us at Gen Con Online that participants really liked is that you can kind of mess with the rules a little bit. One of the things that you're doing as you go through the game is you're collecting items to trade or barter. And, you've got a toothbrush, which is, that's a relatively simple commodity. You've got a cup of noodles, and that's a little more valuable. So players realized that they didn't have to just do one-on-one trades. They could, boost their own standing by saying, well, I see that you need the cup of noodles, but instead of one toothbrush, I need a toothbrush and the hairbrush that you have too. You got to work with that other guy to make it happen.
Exactly.
Oh, very cool. And one thing that people like to ask about when they're picking a game off the shelf is how long is this expected to play?
This one is about an hour to an hour and a half.
And you mentioned it was replayable.
Yes.
Explain that, because you're telling a story. How does it change every time so that the first time I've played it, I'm not like, okay, I understand Escape from Iron Gate, I'm done with it?
Because you've got so many different scenarios that can come from the various cards that you draw. You've got 5 different kinds of cards to draw with about 300 cards, and they're all dependent upon your roll of the dice. So for one game to be identical to the next would be almost statistically impossible.
So it's not one story. There's different cards that are coming in that affect how it changes every time. So if I play this 5 nights in a row with different people, one person doesn't necessarily get an advantage for knowing how it ends or something like that.
Exactly.
Very
Exactly.
cool. Is there anything in this game that would prevent a person of a certain age? We talked about the games adults play. What about the range for this one? Can younger audiences play this, or do you have a suggested group of age range?
I believe we say it's 8 and up. Obviously, depending on how comfortable your children are with being wrongfully imprisoned, you may
Right.
just take that into account. But no, it's great for all ages, and it's fun and it's interactive. And I like that you can also, get up from the table and do things, because I mean, I've been living a much more sedentary lifestyle since
Yeah.
March, and having something where you're interacting with people and able to get up and move around a bit is fantastic.
So before I move you to your next subject, is there anything else this audience needs to know about Escape from Iron Gate to help them decide whether they should buy it? And I'm going to probably do a review and take a detailed pictures of some of the components that people can kind of see what they're getting. But is there anything else that you think would be helpful for people to know when they're considering what to buy? Because everything's online now, so they're going to have to go on our word.
Exactly. This one, in all honesty, it was a lot more fun than I thought it would be when I first heard about it. The unlimited replayability is so key. And I'm sure we all have those games where, and maybe I'm in a bit more of a unique position where I do have to pitch games, and I have played our game Side Effects over 700 times. I've got that one pretty well nailed down. But for something like this, where even I'm not like, okay, I know what's coming, I know exactly how to make this work, because you're not just relying on the roll of the die, you're relying on the people who you're playing with / against, and how kind of devious they can be.
So it sounds like if you like escape rooms and you can't go out, this would be a good game for you. And I've actually looked at some of the other escape room board games, but they are like one-time play and then you're done. And so this seems like potentially a better value for you because you get more plays out of it.
Yes, for sure. And the unlimited replayability is completely unique to Escape from Iron Gate.
So what do we have next on our preview palooza today from Goliath Games?
All right, so next up, we are talking about Harry Potter, Reveal the Death Eaters.
So Harry Potter is a licensed property that will immediately draw in a lot of people, including probably my wife who loves Harry Potter. So
fabulous.
Talk to me about Harry Potter, the Harry Potter game you got.
All right, so Harry Potter, Reveal the Death Eaters. The name kind of says it all. It is a social deduction game. So your viewers, your readers may be familiar with like Werewolf or Secret Hitler. So a social deduction game like that, where you are trying to reveal who around the table is a Death Eater. You want to send the Death Eaters to Azkaban, obviously.
Yeah, you don't want them around.
And you don't want the Death Eaters to take away any of Dumbledore's army. So every person is assigned a character.
And when you say character, are these characters from the movie? Okay, so you've got people right now who are already buying this game now. Okay.
Yes, you are a character from the movie, and some of the characters have unique traits. So, for example, and actually I'll back up a second so this makes more sense. The game rotates between day and night. And daytime, everybody is awake and talking and trying to figure out who's who. Nighttime is when the Death Eaters can choose to make their move and get rid of one player.
Oh.
Overseeing all of this is the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge. So one player is Cornelius Fudge. And I'm sure that people have feelings about that on either side. So Fudge knows exactly what's going on in the game. But if you're Fudge, you're not alone. We've provided a script for you to read from to make sure that everybody is able to understand what's going on. In the course of the evening, back to the special traits that I mentioned, every night whoever is Harry, can protect one other player with the invisibility cloak.
Makes sense.
So if the Death Eaters choose to go after that player, but Harry's done the invisibility cloak already, then that player is safe. Hermione has a time turner that she can use once per game. We've got both Fred and George Weasley, and if one of them is taken out of the game, the other one is as well, because they're twins and they're linked.
And what happens when you're taken out of the game? You just sit and hang out, or do you have a?
Hang out. Yeah, you can't contribute anymore.
Gotcha.
This is a game that is geared for larger groups because it can have up to 29 players.
Does that mean there's 29 individual characters people can be in the game, or do you share characters, or?
Correct. 29 individual characters.
So is the little Dobby guy in there?
I don't believe we have Dobby.
I mean, that's okay. I just like saying his name more than anything else.
Like, he's adorable.
Yeah.
We have, because I mentioned the special traits for some of the characters, and I only touched on Dumbledore's army. But for example, Bellatrix Lestrange. If you're Bellatrix and you get taken out of the game, you choose one other person to take out with you.
So talk to me about why you would want to do that. So it ends faster, or so they can't win? Because if you're out, you're like, what stake do you have in taking someone with you?
Part of it is character driven, just that Bellatrix was not a fantastic person.
If I'm going down, you're not winning either. Gotcha.
Exactly. If I'm going down, I'm taking you down with me. And part of it is, if you're a little bit into the gameplay and whoever's playing Bellatrix is convinced that somebody across the table from her is, or if Bellatrix knows that somebody across the table from her is in Dumbledore's army, she can just take that person out, because the way that you win is for Dumbledore's army to either wipe out the Death Eaters, and then Dumbledore's army wins, or you've got the option of when there are more Death Eaters than Dumbledore's army, then the Death Eaters win.
Oh, so they don't have to knock everybody out. They just have to have more people.
Correct.
Or more Death Eaters than people, I guess.
Yes, more Death Eaters than Dumbledore's army.
So one thing that I've noticed in games that have a cool license is sometimes the license is somewhat integral to the game, and sometimes it's just kind of like slapped on to kind of look cool. So it sounds like it's pretty well integrated in this game. But talk to me about how how Harry Potter the game is versus just, hey, it looks like Harry Potter, but it plays like any other game. And you've kind of touched on this already with the powers that do seem to be aligned with the characters. But do you have any thoughts on it?
So it definitely helps to have some knowledge of Harry Potter. I don't think that it's required that you have, been to Wizarding World and read all the books 17 times and attended every single midnight premiere. This isn't like a master's level Harry Potter class.
Not true. You'll pursue Harry Potter. It's just a Harry Potter themed game. Yeah.
Right. But that the character traits do actually relate to the characters in the books and the movies, where, it wouldn't be something like it makes sense for Hermione to have the time turner, where one time during the game, she can turn back time and erase whatever happened the night before. It makes sense for Luna to be the seer and to know what's going on with any character, but not be able to come right out and say, okay, I figured it out, because nobody around the table knows who anyone is.
So you don't know you're Harry Potter. You only know that you're
Harry Potter.
You're Harry Potter.
No idea who anybody else is.
Okay. Now, for people who haven't played a social deduction game, kind of walk me through how, I know it's kind of weird because you're one person, but how does like a round or a thing work? How do you go about figuring out who people are and what's going on?
So in this game, like I mentioned, you have day and night, and you have Cornelius Fudge moderating. And it really does just come down to who's being taken out of the game and looking at other people's social cues. But because we're human, we can lie. We can lie during the day and say anything that we want. We don't have to say, oh, well, no, you can say, I'm totally good. And you could be Bellatrix Lestrange. So it's looking at who is being taken out of the game. And the only person who you'll know besides yourself is Fudge, who is narrating the game. And like I mentioned, we have a script for that person to follow along. Fudge will wake up the Death Eaters at night and watch to see who they vote to get rid of. Fudge will ask, the next morning before he says, okay, this person is out. And he'll use their real names, their Muggle names, as it were, rather than saying,
Darren.
okay,
He'll
Hermione.
use my actual
Yes.
name. Gotcha.
Yes. And he'll ask, okay, Harry, did Harry use his invisibility cloak last night? And he'll do that when all the players' eyes are closed. So again, nobody knows who Harry is besides Fudge.
Oh, gotcha. So Fudge is doing more than just reading a script. Fudge is actually kind of game mastering, so to speak, and making this,
right.
And it has a lot to do. That's kind of fun as well.
Yes. Great power, great responsibility, all of that.
And obviously Harry Potter fans are going to be attracted to this. You've dropped some names that people are going to get jazzed about. What kind of audience besides the Harry Potter would like this game on? Maybe in terms of the casual versus competitive, that sort of thing. Who's going to like this game?
I think this one is more competitive. And it's one where you do have to be comfortable with, even if you haven't played a social deduction game before, being able to listen and take in information as it comes to you and figuring out. It's not a get up and run around game. It's very much a take a seat, buckle in, concentrate, let's do this. And
how long would you say a game, or I guess a round if people want to play more than one, how long would one complete game take to play?
So it varies. If you've got 8 players, it's obviously going to take less time than if you have 29 players. But I think we can all be pretty honest saying we're not getting 29 people together.
Not right now.
Playing one round with 8 people can take 30 minutes. Playing around with 29 people, I would venture to say it could take an hour and a half to 2 hours.
And I know this might be impossible, but let's say I'm a Harry Potter fan and I'm kind of in a house with 1 or 2 other people, but I have other Harry Potter fans on Zoom who might want to play and buy a copy of the game. Do you think there'd be a way to make that work somehow where people could play over Zoom or something, or is this not the kind of game that you could do that with?
I think it definitely can be done via Zoom. You have to have that level of trust in other players that they're not going to peek. And I think it could take a little bit longer with Fudge having to ask questions and, determine who's who. But I do think it can translate to Zoom, and it might take 10% longer. Gotcha.
But it's not, because it sounds like a really cool idea to play with 29 people, and I can almost envision the little Brady Bunch style boxes on my screen. But right now, as you said, I'm not getting 29 people in my house, so I'm trying to figure out ways people can enjoy this game. So, all right. So before we move on to your next game, final encapsulated pitch on the Harry Potter game for people who, might not be able to see it in person.
This is the latest offering from GOLIATH with our Harry Potter license. Great game to spur conversation. One of those that after I've played, have you ever had one of those dreams where you wake up and it was so real that you feel differently about somebody who you know in real life?
I can tell you that I've had people have dreams about me and they were mad at me the next day, and I didn't even do it.
Exactly. That's kind of how you feel after playing this game.
Okay, that's intriguing. So people are running out to buy Harry Potter, but before they do, what's the third game that you can show us today? Because they might want to add that to their cart.
All right, so this one, I always feel odd when I intro it, but that's okay. This is Unsolved Case Files. And the reason I feel odd when I intro it is because I always say that true crime is really hot right now. And, you know, it is. We all...
Mysteries is back. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we've all got, maybe a favorite podcast like Serial or My Favorite Murder or something like that. And in Unsolved Case Files, you are tasked with solving a cold case. In this case, you can see the packaging.
Oh, that's cool packaging.
It's really cool packaging. And in this case, you are trying to solve the murder of Harmony Ashcroft. I do need to point out that Harmony Ashcroft was not a real person. This is a game. You're not a real detective.
Actually solving a real mystery, crowdsourcing a murder mystery or something here.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there are police departments everywhere who would welcome some additional assistance. But you are given a case file at the outset of the game, which has evidence envelopes, police reports, witness statements, photographs, everything that you could need to solve this unsolved case file.
So I have to interrupt you. As an attorney, I am very impressed by the components, and that is really cool. Like, that's a lot different than you might find in another game. It actually looks like a case file.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love is that, with nearly any board game, you're away from your phone, you're away from TV, whatever, you're focusing in on this. But there's a really cool online component because there are 3 different objectives that you have to solve in the course of playing this game. The person who was jailed for killing Harmony Ashcroft is the wrong person. He didn't do it. So you have to exonerate him, you have to find the real killer, and you have to find the real motive. And with each step of those, once you've found, for example, what will exonerate the guy who's sitting in jail, you go to their website and click in, he's not guilty because of this piece of evidence and this piece of evidence. And the website will tell you if you're right or you're wrong. And if you're right, you open another envelope that has additional clues to help you solve the second part.
So it's interactive with the internet. The internet tells you if you're right or wrong?
Yes.
That's awesome. So there's no book that you can just skip to. You have to program it in and it will tell you.
Yes.
Oh, that's genius. Okay, so then it tells you whether you can keep going.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. And then at the end, when you do solve the case file, again, you go online, and I'm not going to tell you what happens there, but it's so cool. And, even being, heavily into marketing this and feeling like I knew everything about it, I got one of the cases that the inventors just wanted us to test out before it was released to market to see if there were any issues. And my husband had never played it before. I had never played that particular case before. And I didn't tell him, hey, this is what you're going to get at the end. And when we solved it and we went to that specific website, we were both like laughing. We were so excited at it.
So in the box, do you have just one case file, or does it give you different ones to try out, or how does that work?
You get one case file. Unsolved Case Files was actually developed by 2 gentlemen in Florida, and they put it on Amazon where we saw it and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to have that. So we've brought it to Walmart and Target. And this is the first case that we have out. We have another one coming out later this year and hope to release them with regularity. There is not unlimited replayability for unsolved case files, but what I've started doing with my friends, because obviously I'm a bit of a conduit for these things, is once we solve one, we just pass it along. So those same case files are making their way out across the Dallas area right now.
So when someone else, you could trade, if you're in a gaming group, you buy this case, you agree, you all buy the next one, and we'll kind of either trade or work on them together, kind of split the cost of that or sort of thing.
That's right. If people do want to check out unsolved case files prior to committing to purchase one, you can go to unsolvedcasefiles.com and they have a mini case for you to solve. Okay. The couple that I've done have each taken me about 15 to 20 minutes, but it gives you a good idea of what sort of evidence is included. I will say these are super detail oriented. There is, you'll find a newspaper clipping and maybe there's an ad for a florist on the back, and you think that doesn't matter.
That's just realism.
It might matter.
Yeah, that's cool. So how many people is this geared towards playing, and how long should they expect to be delving into the world of Unsolved Case Files?
One thing I love about this is it can be a one-player game, which right now, if you can find something to do by yourself that's not baking bread or watching everything on Netflix or dressing your dog up or cutting your own hair, it's great. It's great. It's something intellectual to do. And you can play with any number of people. I like to play with about 6 to 8 people because there is just so much to go through. And you'll find yourself just in silence for like the first 20 minutes as everybody's going through stuff and figuring out, okay, what is this? And okay, there's this picture of this character and I need to read his police statement, and just kind of wrapping your head around this entire ecosystem.
This is like a real mystery. You've got a file and you're just trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
If you were playing for like, you're working with, maybe my wife and I are working on it for an hour tonight, can we put it aside and come back tomorrow and pick it up? Or
absolutely,
it's like that kind of game where we can say, this is where we left off, let's reconvene after dinner or something like that.
Right. The only recommendation I would make with that is if you plan to pass it to somebody else, just kind of keep track of what came out of various envelopes after you opened them, after solving a portion.
You could put it back in so they can redo it.
Right. That's the only recommendation I have. Typically, when I've played them, about 2 hours is the amount of time that it takes a group of about 6 to solve them. That being said, the larger groups that I've played with have been people who also work at Goliath. So there's not as much of a learning curve over, okay, what's the objective? How do we do this? But it's a great, great way to pass a Saturday night.
The thing I like about that is I always liked Clue as a kid, and you're trying to solve the mystery, but eventually you just kind of give up and you just start saying, I think it was mustard with the pipe, because you just forget how to do Clue. So this sounds like the computer is keeping you honest. The internet is going to tell you if you're wrong.
Right. I have not found a way to cheat on this, and I don't know why I would, because honestly, playing it is so much fun and it's great mental stimulation. Unless you are a detective, you probably aren't solving any cold cases these days, and you can only watch Law and Order so many times.
Right. And you notice that some of the supporting characters are like the same in different ones. Like the lawyer in this one is the bad guy 3 seasons later. So
exactly.
That's when you watch too much Law and Order. This sounds like it's a more cerebral kind of heavy thinking game. So would you say this skews more towards adults just because of the level of concentration you need?
Yes, we recommend 14 and up for this one. But definitely adults have completely gravitated to it. And it's funny too, scrolling through like TikTok and how many young adults are super into this.
Did people avoid TikTok to ruin the ending or whatever? Like, are people posting like, the answer or anything? You have that problem?
I've watched quite a few videos and I haven't seen anyone post the answer.
It's more excited they are and things like that.
I think everyone is so jazzed about how great the experience is.
Gotcha.
And
so you're being cool, spoiler free.
Yeah, and how you're very hands-on, and you also feel like you've done a lot of work and you don't just want to give out the answer.
Right. You cheat everybody else out. So going from a heavy brain exercising game that's going to make you feel like a sense of accomplishment, I think your last game for us might be a little bit different on the spectrum there.
Yes, we are going to lighten the mood a little bit with Okay Boomer. You may be familiar with the phrase, you may have said it, you may have had it said to you.
I am not a boomer. I am 42 years old and people are calling me boomer. I'm like, dude, I'm not even one. But yeah, I've been called a boomer before.
So you and I have something in common, which is very close age range. And that's something I love about this game. As Xennials, I know we always feel like we're kind of overlooked. Like we didn't even fit into Gen X or Millennial. We just got like this 4-year gap of, okay, you guys all have things in common. So poof, you're Xennials. This is a game that pits old school versus new school. Old school being anyone who was born before 1980, and new school being anyone who was born after 1980.
Man, that's a very specific time frame that is nailing me. I am on the old school now, so thank you already.
I am too. But the great thing about being born when you and I were is that we know a lot of this stuff from both old school and new school. Like I was joking with somebody last week.
Competition of sorts?
It's a trivia competition, and I was joking with somebody last week where I was like, no, this game actually really speaks to my abilities because my pop culture knowledge goes from I Love Lucy through Yeet and everything in between. and playing with a couple of the 20-somethings on the marketing team, when we're asking them old school questions, it's just deer in the headlights look. So out of a sense of just superiority, I like that I know a lot of this stuff. But it's a great game for one-on-one play, or you can do teams if you want to separate into old school versus new school. The goal is to get 10 correct answers first, and it's done simply with cards with the answers on the bottom. So this is one that you can also play via Zoom if you have one person acting as kind of the game master.
Oh, cool.
But for example,
what type of car is a General Lee in the show? Oh, that's a great question. And I should know this. I can picture it. It's orange with a flag on top. That's not very popular nowadays. It's not a Camaro, is it?
No, it is a Dodge Charger.
Charger! Oh, I'm so stupid. I lost. I guess I'm not a boomer after all. So that's a kind of fun kind of question that you don't have to be a math whiz or whatever to figure out. It's basically a cool trivia contest.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just pop culture trivia. And after something heavy like Unsolved case files, where your brain may be gasping for breath, this is one where one of the things you'll hear is, I know it, I can picture it.
I literally just said that, yeah.
Yeah. And then an example of a new school.
I'm going to fail this one too, because I'm right in the middle, I guess. But.
All right.
Jeffree Star, James Charles, and Taki Westbrook are part of what YouTube? Oh my gosh. I'm officially a boomer. I have no idea. I've never heard any of those people.
They are members of the beauty community on YouTube.
Oh, you're killing me. Now I'm officially a boomer now. Oh, so
no,
fun, but
still in our exennial bubble. We got this.
I know. I swear, viewers, I can get some questions right, but I am right in the middle. So the way you did that, though, shows that if you're stuck at home and you got a group of friends, I could get one copy of this and be the question master and quiz everybody and play.
Exactly.
That's cool. What's not cool is my performance in this game. But do you have an idea of how many cards are in there? So people get a sense of what they're. I mean, you can kind of see the box, but
there are 200 questions. They are divided into the just free-form answer ones like you and I just did. You'll have, and let me find an example of this. There are some images that you have to identify. You got this.
No, I don't, because it just looks like a dice. Like with one side. Is it? I'm missing the. Oh man. It looks like the one side of a dice, but I'm clearly that's not right.
It's got this little notch taken out over here.
Oh wait, isn't that your logo?
No, but that's a good guess.
It looks like. I mean, you have dice on your logo. Okay, so what is? I give up. I'm a loser.
It's a floppy disk.
Let me see it again. Oh, it is a floppy disk now. Oh, that is awesome. Okay, that is a good question. I was like, I didn't. Oh, that is a really good question. And I used floppy disks like at the very tail end of them. That is. Now you get a real sense of what kind of question. Give me one more young one, because I'm clearly in the middle here and I'm a loser.
Okay, another new school one.
Yeah, I got to redeem. I got to get one question right. We're gonna play all 300 before I get one right.
All right.
The thing I like about this is even when you get it wrong, you like feel like, oh yeah, I did know that. Like it has kind of a sense of community to it almost.
Okay. I believe in you.
Oh, I do know Rick rolling. That's a. Never going to give you up, never going to let. That's when you send someone to the video and they think it's going to be something else, and it's the Rick roll video.
Yes.
Rick Astley, I think his name is. So
correct.
Thank you. I redeemed myself, and that one is the question anyone gets. So this game looks fun. So this literally is bring your humility and your knowledge and just have fun with it, as opposed to trying to solve a mystery or break out. It's a kind of a casual party game almost.
It is. It is. And it's one that I've seen spark really great conversation. Quick snippet, floppy disk. And then when you have people who truly don't know what a floppy disk is, explaining, no, back in the 80s, this is how we got on the Oregon Trail. And it made these whirring noises because there were cones inside. And then when we switched from 5 1/4 to 3 1/2, wow, that was super high tech.
When they got hard so they didn't get bent because they had a little plastic. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure people are just saying, Darren, I'm writing you off right now as an old dude now. But I do remember those. And I did love Oregon Trail. So that I think we're on the same wavelength, but I have not impressed you with my trivia so far. But
I mean, if we're being honest, I probably have most of these memorized at this point. So I'm not the ideal opponent.
Well, I think one of the cool things about that game is even if you kind of know all the answers, bringing in new people to play with you to kind of see their reactions and what they know and kind of get people talking about stuff. So it's not like Trivial Pursuit where you're just going to beat everybody and make them feel bad. It's really more of a social game than it is knowing the answers. Because I've had a fun conversation with you talking about floppy disks and Oregon Trails, and that goes way beyond what's on the card. So I think, is that kind of like the secret point of the game?
Yeah. Have conversations, get to learn more about each other. It's one that I'm looking forward to playing with my parents, and we're going to have to do it via Zoom because we don't live near each other. But this is one that, my parents and my siblings and I can play together. My siblings are significantly younger than I am. Obviously, my parents are parental age. So knowing that just within that family unit, I can't wait to ask my dad about Rickrolling. And
Rickrolling is literally the greatest thing ever, because I think a lot of people don't even remember the original video when it came out, but I do, and it's sad, but nice call there. So if I'm at home and I want to buy these games, where can I get them?
Pretty much everything that we have is available both on Walmart and Target, but if you just go to GOLIATHgames.com, we've got links for every place that our games are sold.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to go through this with me. I feel like we're providing a service to all those folks who didn't get to go to Gen Con this year and those people who are looking for something to do. Again, we've talked about an escape room game called Escape from Iron Gate. We've got a Harry Potter game that we went over, a murder mystery game, Unsolved Case Files, which sounds fascinating, and then OK Boomer, which is kind of the palate cleanser for the end of your evening. So I will try to follow up with a couple reviews on games. On these games we talked about, to provide pictures and stuff after this interview is done. So you might want to check that out too. But I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Mary.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, it was just fun. I love talking about games. And the only thing I love talking about games is more than talking about games is playing games. So I'm looking forward to digging into these. So thanks again. And maybe we'll get you back on when you have some more stuff coming out we can go over.
You bet. I've got all the time in the world.
Yeah, we all do. Thank you so much, Mary.
Sure. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.